I want her to apologize to me for calling me a liar on TV, because this is clearly not true. And I want to know why my son was left to die breathing in diesel smoke, which is the most horrible way to die, and she didn't do anything to stop it. She could have. She ought to be she ought to be wearing stripes. I want to see this woman in stripes because she lied, and the different things that she did say were very, very totally wrong. My son is dead because of her. I would like to talk to her.
That was Pat Smith back in April. Her son, Sean, was one of the 4 Americans killed during that attack in Benghazi. Joining us now is a member of the Benghazi Select Committee. Kansas Congressman Mike Pompeo is with us. How many requests were there before the attack for extra additional security in the region?
Sean, there were over 600 requests that said, we've got a problem. This is the lawless part of Libya. We need help. We are undermanned. There were folks who talked about being a suicide mission.
And the Brits left and the Red Cross left?
That's right. Multiple terror attacks, some of them at our own facility, and yet insufficient security was provided, and we ended up with 4 Americans.
And during the attack, we had people ready to go help, and they changed clothes 4 times because they didn't know if they wanted them to actually go in uniform. And we were asking permission of Libya to save Americans while they were under fire.
One of the things that our report shows very clearly is that Secretary Clinton put politics and her political legacy way ahead of the people on the ground. They were dithering for 2 hours in a civets, a telephone conference call, while mortars are falling in Libya, and they're talking about things not related.
Didn't we have video of this going on? Didn't we have real-time video?
So there was. For much of the evening there in Benghazi, we had real-time video that was being fed back to
So she knew, she had to know that the fight was ongoing, and they're sitting there talking about a video?
Oh, it was well known that the fight was going on in Washington, D.C. There was no surprise. The difference between the firefight and the intensity and the urgency and the valor in Benghazi and the lame, unvigorous attack in Washington, D.C. is deeply disturbing.
So, and we had guys ready to go help them.
That's right.
And they wouldn't pull the trigger. They wouldn't say go.
Sean, at no time was there ever an aircraft inbound for Benghazi, Libya during the entire evening. And for the first 7 hours, there wasn't even a vehicle, an aircraft, a soldier that had moved towards
Libya. And they
knew
knew this first at what, 3:30 or 4 in the afternoon?
So it would have been about 3:42 Washington, D.C. time when the first knowledge of the attack reached Washington.
And that Leon Panetta told the president in a pre-arranged meeting in the Oval Office, right?
That's right. About 5 p.m. he went to the Oval Office and told the president.
Here's another thing. The president didn't even read the next day. Didn't get his presidential intelligence briefing?
That's correct. It's remarkable. At no time did the president ever gather his troops, right? You would think you've got an ambassador missing, you would gather. They were all in Washington. The director of the CIA, the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of State are all in Washington. And at no time did they even say, hey, we want to get together and figure this out so that we can save lives in Benghazi, Libya.
And while simultaneously telling us afterwards that this was related to a YouTube video, which they were negotiating while the fight was still going on, not trying to save Americans, that she wrote her daughter, the Libyan president, the Egyptian prime minister, it was a terror attack, but told us, the American people, something different.
Again, this is politics ahead of those folks on the ground, Sean. She knew within hours, as did the U.S. government, that this was a terrorist attack, a radical Islamic terrorist.
And why did they lie?
No, I just think there were 56 days left to an election. It didn't fit the narrative of Osama bin Laden is dead and GM is alive. And just in the same way they clipped the 9/11 reports in Orlando, they didn't want to tell the American people the truth about the fact that radical Islamic terrorists were attacking America that night.
What do you take out of this about her?
Terrible leadership, poor judgment, and a willingness to put her own personal political legacy ahead of the people that she sent into harm's way.
This is heartbreaking. If it was my son or daughter, I am livid beyond words tonight.
Yes, sir. I keep thinking about if it was my son, what I would have thought if the American government reacted that way after they'd sent my son into harm's way.
Congressman, you did a great job.
Tragic and morally reprehensible.